Hi, my name is Emily Brown. So, yesterday, after increasing pressure from the Conservative Opposition Party, the Liberal government announced a 30-day suspension of flights from COVID variant hotspot countries, India and Pakistan. These variant cases are now being reported across Canada. Too little, too late. Pandemic mismanagement. Let's look at a few markers on the pandemic timeline. January 2020, military intelligence issued a warning about the COVID outbreak in Wuhan, which was largely ignored by our government. January 25th, 2020, the first COVID case confirmed in an individual and their wife in Canada, and they'd recently returned from Wuhan. Cases continue to arrive in Canada, with the first community transmission suspected in March 2020. And that launched a set of lockdowns across the country with the first, then second, and now this tragic third wave. March 8th, 2020 marked Canada's very first death from this COVID virus. Then the government urges Canadians abroad to get home. Canada reaches 100 dead, and the land border between Canada and the US is closed. To date, that has not reopened, although some still come across the border and others fly into our airports. By April 15th, Canada's virus death toll reached 1,000 cases, and a week later, April 23rd, 2,000 cases. I started to use Canadian COVID case and death rates to teach my math students about exponential growth, a tragic, grim reminder of what was unfolding in Canada right before our eyes. Tokyo Olympics were canceled. Countries around the world limit or stop international travel altogether. Long-term care facilities hit the news. They're decimated, residents dead, families heartbroken, staff exhausted and overwhelmed. In September 2020, the second wave was declared. October 2020, Canada's COVID case count reached 200,000, only 4 months after hitting 100,000, and a month after that, 300,000. December 4th, 400,000, December 23rd, 500,000, and January 3rd of this year, 600,000. January 16, 700,000 cases. The numbers continue to rise. And now we have several variants in the mix. In December 2020, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau stood in front of Canadians and announced that his government had procured 5 times the number of vaccines that the Canadian population needs and would be donating a large number of vaccines to a central depository named COVAX, set up to support poorer nations to vaccinate their citizens. In Canada, vaccine supply has not arrived as promised by the Liberal government. The contracts that were signed did not put Canada on any priority lists, and many, in fact, most countries surpassed Canada in getting vaccines into their citizens' arms. The Trudeau government continues to announce more contracts being signed, yet provinces suggest their supplies run out and delays in vaccines are occurring. The government, desperate to close the gap between their promises and the reality we see, they go back to COVAX. They withdraw vaccines intended for developing nations. And just 2 days ago, in a phone call with President Biden, Trudeau asked to borrow vaccines that the US had shelved because they have not been approved yet for use there. These few markers on the COVID pandemic timeline suggest a government that has severely failed Canadians. The impact on our country in deficit spending, accumulating debt, lost jobs, lost businesses, deaths, deteriorating physical and mental health is unforgivable. Canadians deserve better.